All right, EL Nerds, episode 192, and I'm going to introduce you to my buddy BrentNerd in this episode. I've been away for a couple of weeks, getting punched in my face by the market, and I'll tell you more about that as well. Sticking at 497 something subscribers. If you're new to the show, please make sure that you watch the Income Investing Roadmap playlist that organizes it. There are a handful of other playlists as well. Most importantly, I have no magical powers of prediction, and I have been wrong, including something I'm going to tell you about in this episode. So make sure you do your own homework. Well, I'll tell you more about how I did versus the market, as always. And I will tell you what Brent Nerd is all about. And as you can see, I'm wearing an oil barrel for a backpack. So it clearly has something to do with Brent. I'll tell you about my portfolio moves and what comes next. My portfolio grew in the last 3 weeks and more into equities, but that was after I got shown up by Mr. Market, and I'll tell you what happened. This was March 20th. The market was up in flames, and I am a contrarian. I stayed a contrarian, and I looked like $1 million smashing the market because I was betting with some level of crisis. And whoa, how wrong was I? This is the last 1 month. Everything is up almost double digits. I did not see that coming. I was too conservative and I got shown up by Mr. Market. On the fixed income side, I still am higher than corporate bonds and Bloomberg US credit. But here you go. I got absolutely handed to me. I sold my tech stock in the high point of the war, my stupidity, and I bought energy stocks, thinking, hey, that should be a good deal when there is a lot of conflict. And when the peace proposal came, when the ceasefire came, energy crashed and tech went up, and I got hit in a double whammy. And lo and behold, I am now trailing the NASDAQ by 5% instead of leading it by 5%. And shame on me. I made some mistakes. But hey, I can learn from it. And I started looking at what kind of early warnings could I have anticipated? How can I be a better equity investor? And it looks like in fixed income, I'm still holding on. So thankfully, I won't make too many rash moves. But in equities, I did make two bad moves, selling tech at the wrong point, buying energy at the wrong point, and watching that crisscross kill me. So I will tell you my impressions of where the market is headed and the big moments coming in. Some of you may have read Chairman Warsh's statement about how he was going to leave the outliers out when computing inflation. That's a pretty cool thing to do. So if you leave the high points of inflation out and the low points for inflation out, and you kind of take the middle band, turns out inflation is already under control, or so it seems. Instead of a 3% PCE inflation or a 2.8%, if you followed the outliers method, we will already be at 2.3%. And figure, we get some of this war stuff out of the way. We may be at our 2% target using the outlier method very, very quickly. And that means Chairman Warsh may be able to implement his thesis of how to decrease the debt burden by doing some interest rate cuts as early as September of this year. He still needs the board vote, the FOMC has to vote. But he can say, here is the method we are using. You can complain about the method, but I am the chair. Here's the method we are using. We're going to be managing the inflation based on the outlier method. And, hey, we got to cut rates because we have reached our target, or so he will say. So assuming we get out from underneath that, and if there are rate cuts by around September 2026, we still have the fiscal crisis. If the rates drop, we still have 36 trillion of debt to pay, which is insane. We still have the geopolitical issues, and 20% of world's oil production in Qatar has been taken off the market. and we have a midterm election coming up later this year. A lot of moving parts, and we'll see where any of this goes. And so that is what is coming. In the meanwhile, I wanted to tell you about this Brent nerd that I've been talking to you about and my lessons getting punched in the face by the market. And before I go any further, I want to make it very clear that what I'm about to show you is not investment advice. I'm not a wealth management advisor. I am sharing my education, and everything I do is open. My positions on an anonymized basis, on a percentage basis, is also open. So when I kind of missed the boat on the markets, I started trying to understand what was going on. And this is last week, a couple of days ago, where Iran announced that their ambassador, Aragachai, or I'm not sure how the name is pronounced, it said that that person was resigning, and a more kind of more conservative person was going to take his place. And that meant, there could be some ruptures in the negotiations and where are we going to go. And that came in the middle of the day at 12:50 p.m. And you can see the price of oil started shooting up. Miraculously, exactly 10 minutes after that. So the red is Brent. Brent is going up as this new person comes in and Aragashai goes out. Right around that time, the market starts crashing down. And I found that to be extremely interesting. I didn't know that is what was happening. All I know is that the market suddenly crashed in the middle of the day. And I later on put this together. And when I put it together, I noticed there was a 10-minute lag between the market crashing and burning and Brent going up. And it turned out Brent went up by $2 in 1 minute. And when Brent futures went up by $2 in 1 minute, 10 minutes later, the market starts crashing. And on the opposite side, there was a lead time. When Brent started coming down by more than $2, $3, 10 minutes later, the market starts picking up as though nothing ever happened. And I thought, hey, that's interesting. I wonder if I can do something to kind of get an alert. Now, I'm not an algorithmic trader. I'm not a day trader. I make a handful of trades, but I'm not looking to buy something at 10 o'clock and sell something at 2 o'clock. But, if I have some cash to invest, I would love to wake up to some of these moments better than I have. And so I kept dreaming up, wouldn't it be nice if there was a BrentNerd? BrentNerd would watch the current price of futures and they would keep track of what is the movement over 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and in this session, what is the total range? And if the difference is high, it kind of keeps a log of every 30 seconds. Here is what is happening. And if Brent drops by more than $1.50, or if it goes up by more than $1.50 in 30 seconds, it would kind of send a little alert and say, hey, if you have spare cash, you might want to take a look. And I started playing around with, I don't know whether $1.50 is the right amount. Maybe it's $2. Should I look every 30 seconds or should I look every minute? And as I started thinking through this, I developed a simple HTML file that has all of it incorporated already. And this would call some things behind the scenes to make the whole package work. And if you have a browser, this should work inside of the browser. It makes calls to Yahoo Finance behind the scenes, and it calls BZ equals F, which is Brent futures. Now it's delayed by a few minutes, and so, there is always that. And so it would just keep polling BZ equals F. And whenever there is a difference in price, it would say, wake up, you got to do something. And that is now in place. I am going to post a link to that on this YouTube channel's description. You are welcome to use it. Don't hold me to performance, but I'm using it and I'm having fun with it. So what did I do about my portfolio itself as I continue to cart around these Brent oil barrels? Well, I did balance my portfolio. I was way under allocated in tech. now that I got my life kind of shaken up by the market teaching me a thing or two, I did sell some of my energy stock and some of my industrials, and I increased my IT allocation, hoping to learn from it. As far as my complete asset allocation, it still is very heavily tilted towards treasuries, 27%. I am counting that Chairman Wash delivers and drops the interest rates. If he does, my illiquid agency bond sleeve will suddenly wake up and it will get called. Thank you, Mr. Chairman Wash. I would like that. I also am sitting on a big allocation in muni bonds. And if interest rates drop, my muni bond sleeve will shoot up. So thank you, Chairman Wash. I hope it happens. I maintain some flexibility in treasuries, and the rest of it is pretty much noise in my portfolio, and I have around 14% in stocks. That is how I'm managing my portfolio. My individual stocks and BrentNerd source code is on the description of this YouTube video. Thank you for watching and have a good day.